Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different for you. Normally I do vlogs, mommy things that I pack my children for lunch, videos like that, cleaning videos, helpful hints and tips and tricks. That's the kind of videos I normally make. Why does my cat want to act up now? Kitty boo, come here. So I thought I would do something a little bit different. So I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse since 2017. Been a nurse for 4 years now, and I feel like I've done every kind of type of job there is to do to be a nurse. So I figured I would kind of break them down for you, give you like the pros and the cons and what I feel like my best job I did as a nurse was. Just in case you're like a new nurse out there, brand new, and you're like, what kind of job do I want to do? And you don't get to do every kind of job in nursing school. I know you do a few different ones, but you don't get to do every type of job out there. And I feel like this video could be very helpful to new nurses or just anybody who's thinking about becoming a nurse. Like, is this something I would want to do? So I've did nursing home work, I've did home health work, I've did hospital work, and I am currently doing a doctor's office work or office work. So I did them all. I'm gonna go through and kind of break down what I liked, what I didn't like, the pros, the cons, things that I've loved about each one. I'm not gonna tell you my pay per each job, but I will tell you which job paid more than the others, if you're interested in that. There are certain things that I would recommend about each one if if you have children, if you don't have children, things like that. With that being said, let's just jump right into each one. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. If you want to, you can check out some of my other videos. If you're into the mommy cleaning videos, there'll be some over on my channel that you can check out. So I went to nursing school in 2016. I had Zoe, my oldest daughter, in 2014. I was a CNA. I think I got my CNA license in 2011, 2012. I don't know. Maybe 2010. I don't know. I've been a CNA. I was a CNA before I was a nurse. And I love the CNA work, but it was really hard on my body. Probably because I just wasn't in good enough shape to be doing that kind of work in the first place. And I was young. I was in my teens and into my early 20s, so it was a lot. Then I got pregnant with Zoe, and the job I was working in the nursing home at the time was just too much physically as a CNA to be pregnant. I started spotting, so I had to quit. So that's when I became a stay-at-home mom, and me and Zoe kind of chilled for a little while, and I was like, stay-at-home mom job just wasn't for me. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and so I decided to go back to nursing school. Well, go back to school, and I wanted to become a nurse. So I started nursing school, which took me a while because I dropped out of school. So I had to get my GED, get my CNA license, and then start from the bottom. I had to take a bunch of math classes, a bunch of English stuff that you probably would have already took in high school. So stay in school. It took me a long time. I actually ended up getting pregnant with Mia right at the end of me becoming, right when I graduated nursing school.
I'm back. Look, I don't have the baby on my face.
This is Mia. So I was pregnant at the time when I finished nursing school. I love the nursing home environment, so that's what I thought I wanted to get into. So when I finished nursing school, I applied for a nursing home. They offered me decent pay, which I felt because I was going from CNA pay to nurse pay, and the pay to me was decent. So I took that job. So then let's start with the nursing home. Mia, I'm trying to do something. All right, here, go upstairs with Sissy and play. All right, so some of the positive parts of being in a nursing home are the pay. The pay's good. For LPN, oh, forgot to say, I'm an LPN, not an RN. But doesn't really make a difference where I live. LPNs can do basically everything RN can do. I did basically everything RN can do. But anyways, so some of the pros are the pay. Pay is great in a nursing home environment. The shifts are great. You work 8-hour shifts, but you have to work every other weekend, which can be a little annoying. Like, you have to schedule your plans for every other weekend, and then you work a full stretch most of the time, which is like 3 days on, 1 day off, and then 4 days on. The schedule is kind of weird and flip-floppy. It's hard to make plans. It's hard to do anything with a nursing home schedule, especially, I mean, just the one I worked at anyways. Another thing about it was that I really enjoyed, but was also kind of a hard thing for me because my heart, but you get to know the residents, you get to know their families, you in a way, like, they become your family. Like, you look forward to seeing certain people each day, and then it can be heartbreaking or devastating when you go in and you find out that that resident, or, you know, has passed away throughout the night when you weren't there. Things like that. Or you come to work one day and the patient's had a stroke and they're completely different. Some of that stuff can be very hard, very devastating to deal with, and that was one of the hardest parts of the job for me. Another part of working in a nursing home that was hard for me was if I seen somebody being mistreated. I couldn't deal with that, so it was a lot of confrontation sometimes. Now I'm not a nurse that's gonna be doesn't mean this comes from CNAs, because I know a lot of time nursing homes, you know, the CNAs are the ones that usually get blamed for a lot of stuff when it's actually not them. So, like, it was just a lot. It was a lot. Like, family members don't come to visit as much as they should. Things like that. Yeah, I'm not saying it was the workers. It was more of like, family members don't come to visit, patients are sad. It's a lot to deal with emotionally. One of the other things that I thought was kind of interesting was there's not a lot of stuff to learn. Like, when you work in a nursing home, you don't have to know a whole lot, like medical wise. One of the biggest things that you'll do in a nursing home is insulin. So you'll need to know, like, about diabetes, things like that. But other than that, it's not much to know about. And you should know basic, like, I guess you should know basic things like what kind of blood pressures to look out for, things like that, just to keep your patients safe. Because I've seen a lot of nurses who don't even know, like, that work in nursing homes, they don't know basic vital signs. They don't know how to listen to heart rates and lung sounds and things like that, because you don't use it on a daily basis. The most vital signs they get is a blood pressure and a pulse in the nursing home. So, and a temperature, not like full set of vitals. Another thing that was hard for me, because take it back to I was very pregnant at the time of working there. I was going on 34 weeks, I think, pregnant when I quit there. The physical part was still a lot. In the nursing home, there's a lot of physical pulling, pushing, lifting patients. Even I had to push a giant medication cart down the halls. There's a lot of back and forth walking. The halls are very long, so you do a lot of walking, things like that. But the job itself is pretty boring. So all you do is the basic every day is just you check on your patients, you give them their medication, and that's about it. Make sure they're eating and things like that. You know, walk in, good morning, da-da-da, here's your medication. That's about it. So once I quit there was when I was getting ready to have Mia. So I had Mia and I was like, my license is coming up for renewal. I'd been a nurse for almost 2 years. I was like, I gotta get a job. Because if you don't know, when you're a nurse, you have to do CEUs, which is continuing education things. You have to stay educated. You never stop going to school. You just don't get to. I never thought in a million years I would like working in a hospital. So I seen that a local hospital was hiring for an LPN. I didn't even think that the hospital was really an option for me as an LPN, because I'd always heard that LPNs don't get to work in hospitals, which is not true. I've worked in 2 different hospitals, so it's possible to be an LPN and work in a hospital. So I applied for the job at the hospital, not thinking I would get it. Got interviewed, got hired on the spot. The pay from a nursing home to a hospital is lower. The hospital is gonna pay you lower than working in a nursing home, which is whatever, because I didn't get into nursing for the pay. But going into the hospital, it was a lot I had to learn, and thank God I had a nurse that trained me that was very knowledgeable and had been a nurse for a long time and knew what she was doing. Probably could, she can start IV with her eyes closed. Very like the hospital environment is so much different than the nursing home environment. In the nursing home, it's kind of like, that's not my job, I'm not going to help you, to where I was always willing to help. So I was kind of confused as like, why is everybody like that in there? But in the hospital, it's always like, I got you, you know, you need help, I got your back. And I enjoyed that. I really did. It was a lot of teamwork, and I loved it. So I'm actually still employed at this hospital today, and I work there occasionally. I have 2 small kids, so that's kind of hard. That's one of the cons about hospital hours. You work 13-hour shifts. There is no 12-hour shift, it's 13 hours. You have to be there by 6:40, and you usually don't leave till 7:30, 7:40. Hospital hours are 13 hours. There is no 12-hour shift. So that is actually one of the pros, because you work 3 days a week, and any extra day you work, you get paid for it. Hospitals offer different pay. So like, if you work past 3 o'clock, you get extra money. Going into I think every 8 hours it adds on extra money, starting from 12 a.m. And then like, you work the weekends, you get extra pay. You work holiday, you get extra pay. It's a lot different than working in a nursing home. You have to work every other weekend and you get your regular pay for it. So yeah, the hospital, I learned a lot. I felt like I was actually doing nurse work, like starting IVs, administering medications, IV stuff. There was wounds, there were surgeries. I worked med surg, I did PCU, I did rehab, I worked in the ED. I worked the whole hospital, and I love med surg. Well, I love the surgical stuff, like the procedures, the different things you get to learn. Like, I feel like working there, I still learn new things that I didn't learn. You know, it's like always you're learning, you're doing different things, it's exciting. You feel like you actually are being a nurse and doing nurse things, versus where you're in the nursing home, you're just passing pills all day. So if you're not a quick, fast learner, it's gonna be hard for you. And it is hard to be a med-surg nurse. A lot of nurses don't make it. I've seen so many nurses quit because it's just too fast paced, it's too much work for them. They can't kind of cope with it, but that's what I enjoy. I love being busy. I don't like to sit. They offer a sitting job at the hospital where you can sit with somebody, and I can't do it. I just can't. You get extra pay and everything, but I can't sit for 13 hours. It drives me insane. Another one of the pros of being in the hospital is that your job is rewarding. Like, you feel like you're actually doing something good to help, because the people there are sick, and you get to see them become better and leave. And that's a good feeling, knowing that, or even just knowing that they feel like crap and you can make their day better just by doing a little extra something, you know? Like, that's the part that I like about it. A downfall is that it can be super stressful, because all of that is on you to make sure you have to kind of look out for things. You have to know what you're doing, because if a doctor, even if a doctor has ordered a medication, it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be given, because you're supposed to be watching your vitals. You're supposed to know what's going on. So if your patient has all of a sudden had a low blood pressure all day, you don't want to give them their blood pressure medicine, because there's something could be going on, like things like that. So you have to kind of know what you're doing, which is what I also like about it. So you feel like you're actually doing nurse work instead of just pushing pills. Okay, so after that, it was becoming a lot to schedule my work days with my children. So Mia was little, she was small, and I was trying to, I think I went to work when she was about 10, 11 months old, and I was breastfeeding, so it was a lot. So I worked there, well, I still work there, but so after that, I lost my childcare. So I had to switch my job. This meant that I needed a job with really flexible hours and something that would be like more convenient, more easy for me. So that's when I started looking into jobs that offered better hours with some better pay, because if I wasn't gonna be able to put in my 36, 40 hours a week, I wanted something that could pay me more to kind of make up for the difference. So that's when I decided to go into home health. Now, there are some nurses that love home health and it's everything for them, but I thought when I was training, I really thought I was gonna like it, but it got to be so stressful. It was so intense all the time, and you didn't get to clock out, even though you weren't getting paid. So you get paid per visit, which means when you go to a patient's house and you're in the patient's home, that's when you're getting paid. As soon as you leave, you don't get paid anymore. So when you come home and you have to call patients or call doctors, or you're in the car driving around and you're not on the phone, you're not getting paid. Which is, it sounds like it's like not a lot of money, but it is. They pay you a lot of money. They pay the most, which I understand why, because the job is just way too much. It's way too much. So in the beginning, I didn't have patients. I just kind of rode around with a nurse and it was whatever, it was fine. But the scheduling's hard. So you make your own schedule, but it's like trying to schedule 10 people a day that want you to come at certain times. And it's a lot. So a lot of the time I was at home trying to schedule my patients for the next day, and I wasn't getting to spend any time with my children, which is the reason I was changing jobs in the first place, was because I needed to be with my kids more. But it was becoming impossible, and it was stressing my husband out and my family out. They're like, you're never off this tablet, you never get to just sit and be. And patients would call me at all different times of the day, throughout the night. I mean, I had a patient call me at 11 o'clock at night one time, and I'm like, and they're like, what should I do? You know, and I'm like, it's a little much, you know. At least if you work 13 hours at the hospital, when you clock out, you go home, you're done. It stops. With the home health, it never stops. You're constantly working all day, every day. Throughout the weekend, they'll call you, and sometimes you'll be on call through the weekend. I never did on call, I wasn't there long enough. But so for me, home health had a lot of cons. The pay was the only pro, and then getting to know the patients. But you're only in for such a little amount of time that once you really get to know them, it's like you're gone, you're done. Some patients you really get to know and stuff, but another con was that going into people's homes, not because they were nasty, it was just stressful. Like, it was almost like, you know, you go to somebody's house for the first time and it's just like awkward, but then you're having to like do certain things. I don't know. At least in a medical setting or like a hospital or whatever, it's like they know what they're there for and they know what's gonna happen, to where a lot of times a lot of things were missed, or I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like the patients were getting good care. I didn't feel like I could give them the care they needed, and I quit. So I quit that. And I went on to urology, which is where I work at now and where I think I will be for a long time. I love urology, and I never thought I would. And it's funny because one of the doctors that I work at with the hospital, the urologist there, he has told me that I would be a good urology nurse, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess with people's, what do you call, how can I word this? I don't want to mess with people's things all day, you know. But he was like, it's not that, you would love it. And I actually seen him recently at the hospital, and he asked me how it was going. So yeah, some of the pros of urology to me is the pay. The pay is good, it's decent. It's not the most I've ever made, and it's not the least I've ever made, which that could come with me being an experienced nurse now, being that I've been a nurse for 4 years. So that comes into play with it too. But so the pay is decent. Another thing that I really like is that there's procedures that are done there in the doctor's office. So we do like vasectomies, we do some prostate procedures, we do catheterization, we do all kinds of procedures. There's a lot more, but I don't know if you get what I was talking about. I'm just gonna say we do a lot of procedures. We do some cancer treatments, things like that, and it's interesting. Like, it's interesting to me. We get to know the patients. Sometimes the news is good, sometimes the news is bad. You know, patients, we get to know them. We go on like a journey with them, and then, you know, we see them yearly. It's like you get to know them, you get a relationship with them, which is something else that I like. But they're not there 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? They come in, they're there for a few minutes, and they're gone. A con of it, there's a lot of back work, like on the back end work. So there's a lot of like people calling for appointments, people calling for questions. You know what you call a doctor's office for. It's that stuff, and it's a lot of it. So we recently merged in and took over a doctor's office that a older urologist owned, and we took over his patients, but also brought in our patients. So there's a PA there now that we see patients with, and then there's one that we're hiring soon. So altogether, that's gonna be 4 providers that me and another girl work with and like handle the patients and stuff. And it can be a lot of work, but again, like I said, I like fast-paced work. I don't like to sit. But even when I'm sitting there, I'm busy. So I have a lot of computer work, a lot of messages to do, like labs to order, things like that. So it's work, and I like that. One of the other things that I'm kind of having to adjust to is working Monday through Friday. So the job's Monday through Friday, and I can basically get there whenever I want and leave after the doctor's done if I want to, but most of the time I have to stay and get like phone calls done, orders done, things like that. So it can be a lot, and it can be stressful. Even this past week, we were getting ready to start a procedure, and we had a patient with some complications. So that stuff, you know, it can be stressful. It's the same as the hospital, but you're not in the hospital and you're not doing 13-hour shifts. So it's like, it's a good flip. It's a good flip. I really enjoy it. You also have your co-workers there. That was another con I had wrote down for home health. It's just you. So in home health, it's just you. I mean, you can call a friend, you know, like, hey, lady in the office, I got such and such going on. But most of the time, they're no help. They basically say, I don't know, what do you think? So it's basically on you. I would not in no way, shape, or form suggest that a brand new nurse do home health. Too many liabilities. Stay away from home health if you're a brand new nurse. Get some experience under your belt. Know things to look out for. Know things that are not right. So if you walk into a home and you notice something like off, you can figure out what it is and know whether you need to call EMS and send this patient to the hospital, or it is something that you can work out yourself. In my opinion, a brand new nurse should go to a nursing home. So that's another thing. But out of the 4 places that I've worked as a nurse, I have found to love the urologist office the best. I get the best of both worlds there to me. I get decent pay, I get good hours. Oh, we get off early on Fridays, which I don't think I ever mentioned. We get weekends off, and I still get to do the things that I love as a nurse, like procedures, injections, you know, the actual hands-on things instead of just paperwork, which is why I think I really fell in love with it. My co-workers there are great. The girl who trained me is amazing. She knows so much. She's been in urology years, I think, and she's great. So that's another upside. Everybody in the office is great. The doctor I work with is good. That's another pro, is that I only have to deal with one doctor. Not 15 or 20. There's only one doctor to deal with, and that's great. In the hospital, you have to deal with multiple providers and from all different places and things. Going to end the video, I would have to say that if you're a new nurse, start out somewhere simple. Just get a little bit of experience under your belt. Try your least favorite place. I mean, there's so many different nursing jobs out there. Try your least favorite first. That's my suggestion. Because honestly, I never thought I would like being in a hospital, but I love it. and I love the procedures and things and the environment. And that's where I thought I would never end up. I thought I would never be in a hospital, but yeah. The place that paid me the most was the home health. Paid the least was the nursing home, but that's also because I was brand new straight out of school then. So if I went back to a nursing home now, I'm sure they'd pay me more than what I make now. Nursing homes, home health usually pay the most, and then doctor's offices and hospitals and stuff pay the least. So that is my video on all the different places I've worked as a nurse. Hoping to stop with this one, but you never know. There's plenty of options for nurses out there. I would have to say the only job that I haven't tried is travel nursing, and that's not an option for me. I have 2 small kids. I'm not leaving them for 6, 8 weeks, 13 weeks at a time. I'm just not. It doesn't matter how much money you're gonna pay me. I'm not gonna leave my children that long. I'm just not. And I know I've worked with travel nurses who love it. They love traveling. I'm not a traveler. I don't even want to get in a plane or on a boat. Why would I want this? No, not in my cards. But if that's something you want to think about, travel nursing is another option. But yeah. Well, I hope this video was informative and interesting, and I hope you like my background. I try to set up for you with the fire and the flowers, and there's a pumpkin, you know, get the fall vibes in, because it's technically fall now, my favorite time of year. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Check out some of my other videos. Yeah, and I will see you next time. Bye.